We had a chat with the chairman of the House Committee on Financial Crimes, Representative Kayode Oladele. He starts with his own assessment of the ongoing efforts to fight corruption.
Before today, pre-2015, there was this widespread belief that the government was not doing enough in the fight against corruption. And this was because the perception was there. Of course, it led to reality that the government of the day at the time lacked political will. And when we are talking about political will, it is because we don't have institutions in place. So the fight against corruption would be dependent on the will of the president to fight it. It will be dependent on the determination of the president and the executive to fight corruption. Of course, the executive cannot do that without the collaboration of the National Assembly as well as the judiciary. But the arrowhead, anyway, should be the president. So where the president lacks that political will and determination, and in the absence of a very strong institution, of course, we are going to have a lackadaisical approach to the fight against corruption. So that was what we witnessed before the emergence of this administration, of the Buhari administration. Since 2015, when this administration was inaugurated, the National Assembly, particularly the House of Reps, also came up with our own legislative agenda. And part of that agenda is the fight against corruption. Because we know that if we have a president that has that very good, strong political will, strong commitment to the fight, then we should be able to, using our own powers as enshrined in Section 4 of the Constitution to make laws, give the president that legislative backing to fight to fight corruption. So in the past 3 years now, we have done a lot, particularly in strengthening the fight against corruption. You discover that the president has done, he has his own agenda. We have the strategy for fighting corruption, but that strategy would need legislative backing. And in order to achieve this, we have introduced into the National Assembly and passed some laws. In particular, we introduced the EFCC Amendment Bill, which was sponsored by me in the House of Reps. Of course, there is no similar bill in the Senate. So what the Senate is waiting for is the passage by the House, and then of course they will give concurrence. At the same time, we've passed the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Bill. And I will tell you the relationship between the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Bill and the EFCC Amendment Bill. You recall that Section 1(2)(c) of the EFCC Act states that the EFCC shall be the designated Nigeria Financial Intelligence Unit. And that had been very contentious, particularly within the international community, our partners abroad, the Egmont Group. Because what they said was that they will want the NFIU to be an independent, autonomous unit. It can be within the EFCC. It can be located there, but it should have its own independence. And this is also in conformity with Recommendation 29 of the Financial Action Task Force recommendation that says that you can put an FIU within a bigger organization, but it should have its own independence and autonomy financially. So what we did was to amend that section, delete Section 1(2)(c) from the EFCC Act, and instead created an FIU now. That bill has been signed into law by the president. The NFIU bill has become a law. So what we have done is to create another organization, a unit, an agency, if you wish, from the EFCC. That's Section 6, Section 1, 2, 3, and Section 6L. So today we have an NFIU operating independently of the EFCC, and that is to institutionalize the fight.
So you're trying to say indirectly that you've passed a lot of key legislations.
Key legislations that will assist the presidency in the fight against corruption, because you can not just have a policy, you need to have a legislative backing.
So what's occurring to me now when you say for instance, the NFIU was more motivated, that legislation was motivated from out than within?
Definitely, because we belong to Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Units.
Yes.
And apart from the Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Units, there's also an agency, an intergovernmental organization known as Financial Action Task Force. Yes. Of course, Nigeria is a member of FIU, of Egmont Group. We've also applied to join the Financial Action Task Force. And part of the recommendations and the requirements is that our Financial Intelligence Unit must be independent. So they were of the opinion that making the EFCC as the designated Nigeria Financial Intelligence will compromise the work of the FIU, because that will also mean that the EFCC will have some form of influence over the activities and the functions of the unit.
What I'm trying to find out from some of these legislations that you say has been passed and are key is, when we come down to it, how much difference does it make to in the environment where we are saying we're trying to tackle corruption?
Right. The difference is this.
Take for instance the EFCC, the amendment to the EFCC.
I'll tell you why some of these things are very important. Yes. I spoke about the political will. Yes. And it's only in situations where you don't have strong institutions that political will becomes a very big factor. Now, I spoke about the previous administration that lacked political will, and because there were no laws in place to institutionalize the fight, the agencies depended more on the determination of the president than the laws to guide them in their work. Of course, we've passed beyond the bills. We passed more bills. Yeah. We have, for instance, a proceeds of crime bill, which was passed this week by the House of Reps. Again, it was a bill that I sponsored in the House of Reps. Somebody else sponsored it in the Senate. But that's a bill that has a very far-reaching implications in the fight against corruption. You may have also read about the executive order number 6 that was signed by the president a few weeks ago. It's very akin to the process of crime bill. So what we are trying to do is to find ways and means of ensuring that we expedite actions in cases that relate to corruption and related activities. So we are moving from just the criminal part to civil forfeiture process. So while the EFCC, the ICPC, and other agencies may be doing the criminal aspects by arraigning the criminals or those that are found wanting before the courts of law for conviction, we can use the civil forfeiture process to file an action in rem against the properties.